Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I am a 35-year-old female. I've been married to my husband for a little over 7 years, and my mother in law is a bane to my existence. This lady does everything she possibly can to frustrate me. This has been going on since Leni and I were dating. Then I didn't understand why she didn't approve of me. So I thought if I just showed her how amazing I was, she would like me. Nothing I did worked. In fact, it seemed like the more I tried, the worse it became. After I gave birth to my sweet baby girl and she didn't come to see us for almost a week, I decided that she wasn't worth having a headache for. I didn't want her anywhere around my child or me. The worst part was that she gave a flimsy excuse as to why she didn't visit us. Since then, Lenny has tried to get us to talk to each other, but I always escaped it. My father-in-law and sister-in-laws understood me, but they also would have preferred that we had a better relationship. Still, they knew not to meddle too much in our business. Last week, Lenny told me he had a surprise for me and wanted me to dress up nicely because we were going for dinner. I didn't think too much of it because Lenny often does that. He is so sweet. I love him so much. Anyways, the day came and he told me we were going to the countryside, and I was excited only to get there and realize that it was my in-laws' new house. They had just purchased a new house because they wanted to move away from the busy city since they were retiring. I was excited about seeing my father-in-law, but I was also upset at Lenny because I knew exactly what he was trying to do. That's why he didn't tell me. He knew I would make an excuse to avoid coming if he did. The house looked amazing and had an orchard, which was super cool. That was where we were having dinner. When we got there, dinner wasn't ready, so drinks were being served. My mother-in-law spoke to everyone except me, which wasn't a surprise to me. And when she finally did, she made an annoying comment about my dress. My husband calmed me down with a gaze as he was sitting across from me while my sister-in-law squeezed my hands. There was an even bigger surprise. My brother-in-law, who had been living in Australia for years, came home with his family. Everyone was thrilled. We spoke about everything, and I particularly enjoyed the games. When it was time to make a toast, everyone gave a lovely speech. My father-in-law's speech was the best, though. He told us the story of how he finally got his dream home. It was my mother-in-law's turn, and I could tell that everyone was holding their breath and keeping their fingers crossed. Some were excited, my husband included. She went on and on about how grateful she was to everyone who came out, those who supported them in any way. Whenever she wanted to thank someone, she would call their name and say thank you. But she purposely ignored me. I had contributed to the success of the building, but she didn't acknowledge it. She said she was so proud of her children who have done amazing things with their lives. That was why she could retire. She said beautiful things about all of them. When it came to my husband's turn, she said he was doing great, but her only regret was that she wished he had made better choices. She asked him if she knew his ex had just gotten engaged and that it was too bad he missed his opportunity for mediocrity. Oh, I snapped. I charged at her and started screaming. Her face turned red instantly, and before she could come to me, someone had restrained her. I was shaking with rage. I almost started to regret what I did, but when I heard her raining insults at me, every guilt I felt disappeared. She said I was an excuse for a mother and nothing good came from me. She said I spoiled all her plans as she had a perfect wife for her son, which had been planned for years. But I just had to come in and spoil everything. She had planned for her son to marry her best friend's beautiful daughter, and she was sure they would make adorable babies, unlike mine. I could take anything she threw at me, but I couldn't let her say anything about my child. I looked to see where a niece was. I was so relieved that she was playing with the other kids on the trampoline. My husband had to stop his mother from hurting me further, so he carried my bag and got a niece so we could leave. Before he left, he told his mom to mark the day she lost her son because of her behavior. She said, "Lucky thing I have another one because you were useless to me anyway." On our way home, my husband kept apologizing. He said his mom had deceived everyone because she had called it an apology dinner and wanted to make amends with everyone she had hurt. He said that she specifically asked for me, and that was why he was so happy when she stood up to give her speech. It's been a few weeks since that incident, and my husband still apologizes. I can tell that he is sad that I ended up being right. Even I didn't want to be right. Everyone wants a fantastic mother-in-law, but you can't choose who your mother-in-law would be. I understood that my husband was just trying to get me and my mother-in-law to at least be civil with each other. It was lovely what he wanted to do, but I knew there was no hope when my baby was born years ago. But he didn't listen. He always thought that something could still be done. I heard that my father-in-law was so upset with my mother-in-law that he told her to fix what she did, but she refused, saying she didn't do anything and it was all my fault. Because of me, my husband won't speak to any of his family members, causing a lot of conflicts. He also believes that his mom needs to apologize. If she does not, he has no choice but to cut his family off. Among my husband's siblings, I am only close to his sisters. I only met his brother physically during our wedding. He seems to be a mama's boy because he called me and insulted me. He said so many horrible things to me that I became lightheaded. How could someone who didn't know me be so mean to me? He told me I had a few days to fix what I had done, or all hell would break loose. My husband was very upset when he came home because his brother had also called him. According to my brother-in-law, he had called him to speak some sense to him. He said their mom was always right, and with what happened at their parents' home, he was sure she was right. This caused a division. Some, like my father-in-law, were on my side, while others were on my mother-in-law's. It was just a huge mess that I wanted to avoid at all costs. If only my husband had listened to me. The fight is still ongoing because no party wants to back down. I'm beginning to think I should have ignored my mother-in-law like I always have, but that day my emotions took a better part of me. It was like all she had done to me all the years were translated into that one sweet slap I gave her. I'm not a troublemaker, and I'm probably overthinking this issue. My husband has told me to leave it alone and stay out of it. He says he would deal with his family. I discovered that some people who seemed to be on my side were saying horrible things about me. I couldn't trust anyone in my husband's family anymore. I made a mess, but it opened my eyes to see who was who. I'm just very concerned about my husband. He loves his family, and I don't want him to be at loggerheads with them because of me. It would destroy me if they can't reconcile, and my husband loses his family. I grew up in a foster home, so I don't have a family, and I know that's why my husband wanted me to get close to his family. He wanted me to have everything and not feel any pain. If he could, he would go back in time to make sure I had a family. He blames himself for everything that happened at the house. Everything is just a mess now, and I don't know how to fix it. My father-in-law is the sweetest. He visited my husband and me last weekend and spoke with us extensively. He said the incident was unfortunate, but he didn't blame me. He admitted that he was surprised it hadn't happened sooner because he knew his wife was purposely getting on my nerves. He said he loved his wife, but she always wanted her way, and she had to learn that the world doesn't revolve around her. He told us that he had given her an ultimatum to apologize to me and stop maltreating me from then on. He said he was sorry to have let this go on so long to the point where it was now divided the family. He mentioned that my mother-in-law is stubborn and she is refusing to do what he said. So to emphasize his seriousness, he hasn't been home for a week. This broke my heart. I feel like I have broken my husband's family. At least when I was getting picked on, they were not fighting each other. I'm sure most of them blame me for all that has happened. I can tell from how most of them have behaved so far. NTA, please, you did not do anything wrong, so stop blaming yourself for nothing. If I were you, your mother-in-law would have gotten a good slap. Your father-in-law has started something great, so let it play out. NTA, it's crazy how mother-in-laws think they have control over their adult children. If she didn't like that her son married you, there was a time to stop it. And if she couldn't at that time, she needed to accept it and move on. Glad she is finally getting put in her place. YTA, I don't think you didn't know that your husband was going to bring you to the new house because you were aware of the new house. So don't play dumb. You knew what you did. So own up to it rather than making it look like something took over you and now you regret it. NTA, if you are scared that your husband will blame you for losing his family, don't be. If that thought crosses his mind and he says it, you know you married the wrong person. I'm 23, female. My roommate, 24, female, and I have reached a point where we can't live together anymore, and our lease is up in January. We haven't really talked in months, her choice, as she keeps her door closed and always comes in on the phone so she doesn't have to talk to me. We got a cat 3 years ago, right when we moved in together. Since then, I have done all of the primary cares for her, like cleaning the litter box, feeding her, intentionally spending time playing with her, cleaning her bowls, and things like that. However, my roommate's parents did pay one vet bill as I was still in school and didn't have the money for it. 2 nights ago, I let our cat in my room to go to bed. She likes to start the night with me, and sometime in the night she usually likes to leave my room. As soon as I close my door, my roommate knocks on my door and tells me that when I let her out, that she goes and wakes her up. She then continues to say that she's her therapy cat, and she's already done all the paperwork to take ownership. I was speechless. We hadn't even had the conversation of who would get her when we parted ways. I followed her into the kitchen and said that was a lot to just dump and walk away, and that I couldn't believe that she would rip ownership away from me without even a conversation. It escalated. Lots of history, obviously, but main points were that we hadn't talked in months. I said that was her choice, and she said that I was a narcissist who only cared about myself. And I picked when she was at her lowest to confront her. She also said she had to be perfect and at her best to be worthy of the gift of friendship. I did not say much. She talks fast and covers so many topics in one burst, it's hard to respond. I just said that throwing things back at her wouldn't help and that I didn't have anything to say. And we stopped talking for the night. Then yesterday she comes out and says that she didn't tell me to be a bitch, but she is going home for a couple of days for Thanksgiving. Side note, I texted her weeks ago telling her that I worked Thanksgiving and would be around if she wanted to go home, to which she never responded. I said okay and asked who was going to watch her cat. She said I didn't have to make this ugly and proceeded to call me a coward, a narcissist, and attack my friends for being emotionally immature. So, AMITA for asking who was going to take care of her cat after she stole her without even a conversation. I had no idea this would get any attention. Oh my God. Y'all have been so helpful and I am so grateful. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't overstepped and became an a-hole, but instead I got hope and help. Thank you for taking the time for all of the advice, because as soon as I was threatened with paperwork, I didn't know I'd have a leg to stand on. I'm taking her to the vet tomorrow to get her chipped, and I have already started compiling all of my receipts for food, litter. I talked to my new landlord and we've reached an agreement so I can move in early. When I tell you I am running out of here with my cat in tow, I mean it. Thank you all so much. NTA, you seem to be focused on the wrong thing, mainly because you are drowning in this dysfunctional situation. The issue isn't if you ask the question. It doesn't matter because if she leaves the cat with you, will you let it starve? No. Your real issue is if you can afford to pay your final month and leave sometime in December instead of in January. Also, if you really want the cat and you bought it, then you should find receipts and establish ownership for it yourself. Move out first and just take the cat with you. Don't say a word. Don't argue with her and don't speak to her. There's no point. NTA, and it's called a gish gallop. When someone spews a bunch of argumentative points in order to overwhelm you and shut down your point. But you have work to do. Gather documentation of ownership, receipts of food, equipment, litter. Stores can sometimes pull up past receipts under your card. And go to the vet to establish billing under your name. Get vaccines and maybe a chip. Repay your roommate's parents for the last bill they covered. Move out and take the cat. I, male, 30s, live with my wife, female, 30s, and our 2 kids, male 7 and female 3. My wife and I both have full-time jobs. Our eldest is in public school 5 days a week, and our youngest is in daycare 3 days a week. My wife and I work around each other's schedules. When it comes to housework, I do all the cleaning and laundry as my wife really hates those tasks. And I also do all the cooking. My wife does the grocery shopping. My job recently offered me a promotion. If I accepted it, I would have a significant increase in pay. The issue is that my job would become a lot more stressful and I'd have to work more hours. This wouldn't be doable with our current household setup. I talked to my wife about it and she suggested that she quit her job and become a stay-at-home mom. She seemed really eager. The issue is that I really don't think my wife is cut out to be a stay-at-home mom, and I think she would hate it after a few weeks. She hates cleaning, she hates cooking, and she loves her current job. I also think my wife has an idealistic view of being a stay-at-home mom. She keeps telling me about how easy her life will be and how she'll be so productive. I asked my wife if she would really enjoy it, considering that she'd have to do more housework than she currently does. She insists that she wouldn't mind. I told my wife I think it would be better if I turned down my promotion and we carried on as we are. She told me to stop being ridiculous and that she'd make a great stay-at-home mom and that it would be good for the kids. I said that I don't think being a stay-at-home mom would be good for her and pointed out that she hates housework and how she loves her current job. My wife got really mad at me and accused me of calling her incompetent. I told her that's not what I meant and that I just don't think being a stay-at-home mom is right for her. She told me that I don't have enough faith in her and that I'm an a-hole for implying that she wouldn't be capable of doing it. NTA. She doesn't like cooking or cleaning. Can you come to a compromise by asking her to take on more of the cooking and cleaning to see if it is really for her? Do a test run where she cooks 2 nights a week and does just the laundry or something. That way, you get the load lessened for you and she can see if she can learn to like cooking and cleaning. That said, most people don't like cooking and cleaning. Part of being an adult is doing it anyway. It seems like you are being taken advantage of. NTA, you told your wife your honest opinion, and from what you've written here, it seems like you have a very good reason for that opinion. How about the wife stays at work and you take the promotion and hire a cleaner? and or maybe take the laundry out to be washed, dried, even if just for a few months until you all adjust to the new demands of your job. I stayed home with my kids for a year because my daughter was pretty ill. There really is not a lot of extra time if the stay-at-home mom is doing all the cooking, cleaning, childcare, and on and on and on. I believe you are correct in that your wife has a romanticized version of what will happen and that you see things a bit more clearly. You are a really considerate husband. NTA, mate. Sounds like she's got dollar signs in her eyes and is wanting to put her feet up. I'd fight this tooth and nail. I don't know about you, but I'm interested in an equal partner, not a dependent. Raising a baby can be hell, and it's 100% a full-time job. But I've raised kids, and I can tell you that raising one 3-year-old plus minor housekeeping does not come anything close to a full-time job or a fair household contribution if the other partner is working full-time. You'd be better off putting the 3-year-old in a nursery and hiring a cleaner to come in once a week so that the cleaning the two of you need to do doesn't extend past cleaning up after the kids' cooking mess. I highly recommend it actually for anyone that can budget for one. What's she planning to do once the youngest starts school in a year or two? At that point, she's no longer a stay-at-home mom. She's just unemployed.